We will be
Yeah.
jumping in to this draft, and this is where things get very exciting because then we are seeing the resurgence, no pun intended, once again, of Bray versus Hades, like we've seen back in Season 6. So now, Loi will be very highly contested alongside Matilda as well as Chip. So we won't see these three heroes, and hopefully, if anyone else, if any one of these teams open it up, one of these teams will snap pick that up.
So I would believe that RSG are okay. So it would seem that Coach Amox really dislikes the Juicin as well as the Loi. It has been a constant pattern that these two are out of the question and never to be seen in their games. But with the games that we have seen thus far, we have pretty much identified that very likely Bray is gonna go full out on assassin heroes and will always pick out on assassin heroes. We did manage to see Jay playing a little bit of that Franco for a while. It did not work out all that well. However, there are of course many other different possible picks out there, such as a Gatokacha, which he has picked out before in the previous games, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And I think for Jay, he's more of a. I remember talking about him at the start of the first day of the Season 9.
Okay.
And then we said, oh, he's very disconnected from the rest of the team. But now it kind of seems like
Slightly better?
a lot better.
A lot better.
Especially with the addition of Bray, he kind of knows how they like to play and macro things around. But fun fact, right now, it's the first time that we see the chip and the Matilda being opened up. So if the chip is opened up, RSG might be able to snap pick that up. I remember Jay actually pulled it out in Season 7 and 8. And he played a heck of a chip too.
So if they want to, they can first pick onto the chip, but it is if Coach Amox actually have got a game plan working around the chip.
Yeah.
But in this case, they're going to first pick onto Kalia. I've never really seen Closer play an EXP Kalia before, but for the sake of it, we're gonna keep that in the open and say that this is a flex pick on the Kalias.
Yeah. But then, man, Chip and Matilda open. First time, no bans for both sides. I don't remember the last time JPL actually played the Chip before, but the Matilda definitely so. So if they actually want to pick that up because of the additional sustains, and this is one of the first few times or rare times that we ever seen the Matilda or the Chip being leaked open. So it's either one or the other. It will be the Farsa and the Badang instead. So they are going to be leaving that on the tables.
Okay, so as per what we've seen before, red side will almost always pick out the Farsa, coming out with a little bit of that resurgence of Farsas. We don't really see so much of priority picks onto Kimi anymore. It's rather unfortunate. It's a very good traction pulse skill. I mean, the skill traction pulse is great, and also the immobilize that follow us up afterwards is always great. But I guess nowadays we are looking for more of artillery mages instead of more utility, considering the fact that EXP laners, they are working a lot more on the utility side and really more on setups.
Yeah. So I think right now with the Granger and the Hayabusa and the Kalea also being picked up, I don't think we will be seeing any of the chip going into the picture as well. I don't remember last time Kalea was played in the EXP, especially by the hands of Closer.
Yeah.
And you definitely don't want to leak it over to the side of Flash SG. So last pick though, if they want to pick up any of these two setup heroes, now might be the best time. So just pick one up and throw away the other. I think Matilda might be pretty good right here, considering the fact that for Flash SG, they like these long extended team fights, and it's really going down into the picture as well. JPL likes Matilda quite a bit. I know it's one of his more comfort signature heroes that we've seen way back when he was in Season 1, Season 2.
There is... Oh!
Harith.
We completely didn't... Okay, at least for me, I didn't realize that Harith is unbanned. And actually, we haven't seen Harith being picked out quite a lot nowadays, and not exactly banned all the time even. We do definitely see that 1-1 has been rising up a lot more. So finally with no more 1-1 in play, the Harith joins into the fray. So this is Team Flash that's playing a lot more crowd control, a lot more area denial. They want to zone people out, or rather within of the Zaman force. So Gato Kacha is understandably going to be one of the possible good picks as the roamer, since they have pretty good artillery mage from the Farsa, they've got pretty good damage coming from the Harif. They can double down onto these death ball kind of games and leave it up to assassins to kind of, do whatever that he wants.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, especially since if you have Vanix in your party and you want to play around the gold lane, you just leave him alone, let him do his thing because he thrives best when he's left to his own devices and you don't really have a lot of clashes onto the gold lane, so Vanix can just freely farm about. Now, coach. Now second phase of the bans, we see the Kimmy Bane banned out finally, alongside the glue. Ken definitely a threat for the back lanes of RSG. Now, I think what could be possible is, Hades could play even the Hanzo, because right now you have quite a bit of nice little setups. You got nice zone
Hanzo has
control,
got really good AoE skills.
very
as
good
well.
AoE. If you want to single target out the Granger, you could as well. You have double lives if you are able to play the Hanzo from far as well. Gato Kacha, like you mentioned, will be taken out for the side of Flash SG because you don't want to give it over the hands of RSG anyways.
Yeah, so they are removing all those heroes that could possibly contest for areas. I would want to expect and believe that Yve might be one of the heroes that RSG might want to look out for, considering the fact that it's mostly on AoE. You want to keep, if Harif want to stay within of the Zaman Force, then just keep her in there. And especially since Gato Kacha is no longer available to be picked, Yve would not have a counter.
Interesting. But then that means that they don't have a lot of early game damage, especially coming in from utility mage alone, and not a lot of high rotations to be able to match Flash SG.
That means they would need kind of like a more damagey EXP leader.
Yeah, I would assume so. I would assume so. Matilda and Chip's still open though, so if RSG actually wants to play that, it might work well in their favor instead. But you have to throw Kalea in the EXP side.
Would Lucas still work out as an EXP, but
Possible.
damage EXP?
Possible, especially for Flash. Then it becomes super tanky and scary.
I would like to hope that it would be a Badang XP though. Or otherwise, a Hilda on the RSG can always be pretty decent if they want to get themselves the Yve. They need some damage. I mean,
they need to be
even
able to disrupt that
Yve
back
has
line.
got pretty good damage too. But if you want to talk about disrupting, I think that Hilda does a pretty good job in kind of pushing the backlines away.
Yeah.
Just
but you
direct counter.
You only have that power in the early to mid stage of game. If late game you don't snowball, you don't scale. Basically, you're sitting duck. Flash SG will just walk all over you.
I don't see it that way because they have a ever so scaling Granger and a Hayabusa, so it's not too. Oh,
the Veil. I've
the
always
Gara.
Seen, have you ever remember like TikToks of Veil when you have like a target onto yourself? You literally just use the tornado on yourself so that anyone who lands onto you just throws up in the midair and you just unleash a full combo. I think that might be the play for Roy, but I do kind of like where this is going because that pullback and that crowd control, that smaller micro crowd control from the Sandstorm actually helps disrupts the Farsa's ultimate and gives you a little bit of distance from the rest of the enemy team as well. You do have some sort of form of reliable crowd control and knockups from that Veil as well. Paired up with the high loss, makes for a very high rotation early game.
Terizla even?
Terizla against, I would say, the high loss in the EXP side.
Yeah. The Terizla very likely is the EXP, high loss in the EXP as well. So they have a very big meat shield for the side of RSG. They also, I really like the answer that they have, throwing the Veil to deny away the Zaman Force. This forces the Harif to momentarily dash out of the Zaman Force. That means this kind of forces Harif to have a positional awareness, where he will always need to be at the edge of the Zaman Force, but never at the center of the Zaman Force.
Correct. But there's a very small room of error for Veil because that tornado actually is persistent for a couple of seconds. So if you don't land it, at least like you still enable that zone control and
Yes.
manipulate the attention
The
of
damage is good.
the team fight away from the main
That is right.
source.
You can kind of consider this as a Gato Gacha, Gato Gacha's Avatar of the Guardian. You can kind of think of it that way.
Like that,
You
yeah.
don't necessarily have to use it as a pure damage tool. Oh man.
Oh man.
But that's a problem about Veil. I think it's relatively fair to say that that is a problem about Veil. You don't have a lot of mobility, but hey, this is level 1, so regardless, even if you're talking about Fasa, she will be forced to flicker anyways.
There's a lot of damage from the get-go, just from the early game skill 1, but this is Team Flash that we're talking about. A lot of the audiences that were watching this are actually looking at Team Flash as one of the top teams and still the top teams for this MPL season as well. So knock onto Jay. Sandstorm will miss though, as Jay will hit quite a bit of that sustain down. And I think for Flash SG, they do have a lot of early game potential, especially coming in from the Pharsa and the Badang, but we've seen that scale. Down before, can take a lot of hits, take a lot of damage. First Blood goes over the hands of Closer. He will fall. Flash SG takes an L right from minute 1.
I would say that Terizla is actually a little bit slow in this composition, but I guess they do want to play around the penalty zone, being the with Roy possibly as the prime target. It's kind of like an off-meta for an off-meta hero, and I would suppose that for Zeus, he has a very good understanding that this is the way. This is the way to go, and the answer against Veil. We haven't seen a Veil for the longest time. In fact, we probably never did. So maybe we gotta keep our eyes out for this Terizla.
You know, it was actually picked up in the MPLPH Grand Finals by Super Flames, if I remember correctly as well.
Oh.
But now, fast rotations down onto the mid side. Ken trying to desperately get his level 4 to get this penalty zone online. Now, Turtle getting spawned up. I think Flash SG does have a better idea of how they want to contest for this one. Ken actually crawling his way up from the early L and the early death right from the first minute. JPL still does not have that level 4, so desperately needs to try to get that crowd control in question first and in his arsenal before they start anything off.
Okay, so 2 minutes and 30 seconds into this game with the total currently available for the picking. But both Closer as well as Ken, they are literally just pulling the total as much as they could. Oh wait, that's a new turret. Let's get that looks pretty good.
I think that's like epic skin.
That looks
from the
pretty good.
Terizla. Yeah. You'll get it now.
No.
800 diamonds.
No. Saving up for my Sakura skin.
Very situational though, I think the Terizla pick right here. But
Yeah.
when it comes down to like really high level team fights, you don't really rely a lot on your basic attacks as well. So Bray's already starting things off. Turtle at a half health. Okay. Starting in, you go the penalty zone deep into enemy territory. Curtizi takes down takes down one, takes down the Lord. RSG, it takes that Lord down into their hands. Curtizi down low, but will be able to survive this skirmish as JPL keeps Roy busy.
Very dominant and very committal from the side of Team Flash, right? They have got both Ken and JPL literally jump together in the same time, in tandem. And I love the fact that they immediately just wiped Bray out of the map with no way for him to respond at all.
Yeah, there's a very easy pickup for Flash SG, very high early game damage, and you don't really have a lot of damage as a high loss. All you can do is basically tank that damage in. And Curtizi, honestly though, the Feather Airstrike came in so clutch to deal that burst damage. And like you said, the artillery mages are coming into the question for that early burst damage as well as the cleanup potential from Hades.
Fortunately, Roy was not exactly in that fight, if I recall correctly. So that's not the full potential of what RSG have got for us in terms of the team fight scenario. We'll have to wait for maybe the third turtle for us to have a better idea how that will look like, but it will still take some time. despite all of that, we do have Team Flash that have got the earlier advantage because of that single kill on the Bray as well as the Turtle thing.
Mid-side, you get the fist break into the fist crack, but here comes Hades with the cleanup. You got the Tempest of Blades down as well. Will not be able to take down Jay. JPL comes in, flashes out the way. A double dip from that potato chip is what Hades needs, and takes down Jay with him.
A little bit on the greedy side on Jay. Realizes and saw that Hades seems to get really close to the turret and wanted to hold him down in the turret a little while longer and hoping that that will be enough to deal sufficient damage to Hades. But unfortunately, he was just a shy shot away from Hades to actually land the Tsunami Strike, or rather the Tidal Strike.
You know, right now, still second lord of the game, it's still pretty even. I should say so myself. RSG 1,000 gold behind Flash SG, not too high a mountain to climb to come back into this game. But Flash SG showing a lot of dominance, especially with the Pharsa pick in terms of team fights, though.
Gonna have
Started on with the red carpet, laid it out. Tsunami Slam onto Hades, though. Able to keep himself safe for now with the Tempest of Blades. Down deep in the heart of the turtle, though. Almost getting that reset. They're trying to do something with penalty zone as well. Can't take a lot of damage. JPL back for backup. Roy takes down Turtle for themselves. Ken down low, will fall, but a hands up closer as the Federal Airstrike comes in a little bit too late. But here comes Hades from that top side, takes down CS, might be able to go for more. The closer is there just for a little bit of defense as Flash takes what they can and they bounce. They're not really contesting for these main Turtle objectives, and I think that doesn't really matter to Flash because as long as they take down their bodies, they might be able to convert those into objectives. But speaking of objective conversion, T1 bottom lane already cracked open.
I think that's pretty good trade coming in from both teams. They're constantly trying to look out for something to put them over the edge, or rather on the edge against the opponents.
Good trade for the airstrike. Will miss Jay a little bit too much. As Flash SG, they take down that T1 top just for a little bit of a tit-for-tat trade. Flash SG still wrapping up the aggression. Now it's at the 6-minute mark, so we'll see a lot more Protect the President kind of composition coming in through when Vanek starts that rotation and maximizing his farm potential.
With about 1,000 gold lead from the side of Team Flash, we are moving up to the third turtle very soon. And with this third turtle, we expect more.
Tsunami Slam into the Sandstorm. JPL gets taken out by the hands of CS. Gets a double kill. You're gonna mid of the battle. You're gonna save him. Force already laid down, but Hades on the backside trying to take down CS. Will miss the Sandstorm. That's what I'm talking about. Very small margin of error. Bray, it's a 1-on-2. Might not be able to survive this. Gets out safe and sound for now. Hades! A little bit too greedy. Punished by Bray.
Overestimated himself just a tad little bit, but so far we haven't really quite seen Veil in that big of an action for now. But perhaps the replay will be able to tell us a little bit more. So we shall see how that works out with a very first strike. Okay, we actually do have quite a bit of damage coming in from Roy that dealt quite some bit on the JPL. That would suggest where all that missing HP from JPL went to.
They're splitting up a lot of the team fights, and I think this is very crucial for RSG's success. As long as they're able to keep CS safe, then I think they're winning out in a lot of these major skirmishes and major clashes. Now, the first big objective of the game is spawned up. The Lord is in the pit. The Lord is in the pit. RSG has the long lane priority. The minions are pushing in closer, starting things off with that Lord, trying to pull it back and get resets down to get a little bit more information on where Hades is.
There's a little bit too much skill shots coming in from a Veil. When it lands, it's satisfying, but when it doesn't, you are literally a sitting duck on cooldown. So far, unfortunately, I feel that Roy hasn't exactly been hitting a lot of these skill shots onto the enemies, and only when he does, that is when things go crazy.
Nice little shuttle kill and a dash out of the way. Good outplay by Bray to keep himself safe and sound for now. Flash SG on the prowl, getting a fist crack on closer just to keep themselves at bay. Getting a little bit more information on the top side. 1v1 anime battle is happening. I don't think they might be going for it though. Hades!
Roy!
Getting knocked up by Roy and get taken down by Bray. Because Glorious Pathway already laid down. Because Feather Airstrike will not be enough to keep Ken safe. They can't keep making these mistakes. It's closer against 3. Down onto the backside. As Flash SG loses 2, and they might lose this Lord in the process.
So with the Lord now currently in the favor of likely RSG, but they want to focus onto the T1 first. But somehow even found a kill down onto Kha'Zix. It is not great.
Good flag. Damon Forest dashing, weaving, bobbing, and just playing around with the damage that this Harith has. I think Vanix should be a saving grace of Flash SG. If they're able to pull out this the game all the way to like the 15-minute mark, I think Flash SG is able to crawl this back because RSG, they've already attained so much more economy. They've fought their way back, and it looks like RSG has a dominant game here.
It does seem as though Flash did have got a decent start. They originally had like 1,000 gold lead to a certain point, but right now, even though RSG have got a great almost team wide, a lot of kills, but they actually gave Flash this opening.
Oh, Hades with the retribution steals away the Lord though. Ken with nice penalties on to CS, taking a lot of damage, vaporized right in front of his face. As Jay keeping busy, closer, taking on 3. They're shifting the targets. Won't be able to dash away from the damage that Harith is able to dish out. The JPL pops in to conceal. 5 members strong. Flash SG wants to run down T1, but unable to do so.
Now, even though RSG may have lost that Lord's fight, they still are not too bad when it comes down to defenses. Roy especially, he has some crazy wave clear. CS, technically, it will take some time, but his wave clear is still not counted as too bad. Only until, 20 plus minutes in, that is when killing one Ballista is definitely going to take a little bit of time. But that will be the same for everyone.
There's a lot of mistakes that Flash is actually making in this high-stakes competition. He's the winner of this, remember, guarantees that top 2 spot and going into the grand finals for that coveted chance at the EWC and MSC. But now, for Flash SG, Lord is in their favor, marching down that T2 top side. Flash SG trying to split up a 4-1 composition. Hades not in the picture. Ken needs to look out for the brushes to keep Vanix safe for now. Contesting over that purple buff. Vanix taking a lot of damage, able to get that Purify out of the way from the damage coming in from that Veil. As Hades keeping the bottom side busy with the lane push. RSG on the defense.
12 minutes now. This is going to be important. As 12 minutes in, all of the holy defenses will be taken away. This is going to be the opportunity for Team Flash's side lane pushes to deal some damage. But at least CS did manage to make his way down to the bottom lane effectively enough. We'll take this time to kind of take a look at the in-game equipments coming in from both sides. With the Granger currently with the Hunter Strike, Malefic Roar, as well as Sky Piercer. Not too shabby. On the opposite side, when it comes down to the Harith, still a little bit lacking, if you ask me, with only 2 full items.
Oh, there's a lot of damage coming in from Roy! Man, oh man, one ultimate and everyone's just popping like flies. You got a back line, Hades trying to pick up something at all, jumping on top of the mountains, jumping on top of the hills, and he gets out saved. JPL able to pop that flicker to get out of the way, and a little bit of shield for some insurance policy. But both sides of the map are still pushing in. RSG needs to find a way to deal with Hades.
Holy moly, does that hurt?
Season 6?
Oh man, please, let's not talk about that. But I think that there's a very high possibility that Hades will be able to take this turret down, and yes, he will.
Oh, just a nick of time, just one more frame, and he might get knocked up and just punished for his mistake for staying a little bit too long. But very good call by Hades, getting the trades down for kills. But take a look at this replay. Got a carpet laid out, and Roy dishing out that damage. Everyone just popped up like flies.
Oh man, and so when it lands, boy oh boy does that feel justifiable for that Veil pick. I wouldn't say that RSG has been punished for picking up a Veil just yet, but when it comes down to weaknesses of Veil, it really just boils down to mobility and being able to catch up to fights.
Glorious Pathway comes in. You're holding on to Tsunami Slam as Ken soaking up all that damage. It's just a tickle as he's able to heal everything back up. You need to be able to manage those side waves. Look at where that top and bottom wave is right now, almost at half of their base. It's constantly pushing in. The bottom wave is left open. You know how Hades likes to play this. We might be able to see a backdoor opportunity as he's in the picture right now in the Lord Pit. And they look like they want to blitz this down. They know that Bray is not in the picture. Feather Airstrike keep everyone safe and out of the way. He takes down that Lord. First halfway once again. Tsunami Slam can bumps in the penalty zone, buy themselves some time, but they're getting closer. There will be a 3-man collapse onto both EXPs, and both EXPs will fall.
So 1-for-1 trade, while in the meantime the Lord goes over to the hands of Flash as G. It will definitely march down in the bottom lane, and the Hades, he's always gonna be looking for some amazing stuff. So I've gotta have to say, RSG SG, they cannot overcommit to certain fights, especially since if they don't see a link somewhere.
Yeah, they need to know where Hades is at all times because he's a man on a mission. The devil himself is looking for those side lanes, and RSGSG, this is not their first rodeo. They know how Team Flash likes to play, especially for Hades. They've been at the mercy of his backdoor plays for so many games and so many seasons through. They can't make the same mistake now.
So now in the middle lane, almost going down. Flash, they're looking for other avenues despite asides from the bottom lane. Bringing down the T2 in the middle lane will be of utmost priority. What RSGSG would want to do at this point in time is to look for that opportunity and perhaps even that pick-off using Jay's Tsunami Slam. As long as they land Roy's ultimate, I think that is going to be one of the main winning conditions. If they can't, they gotta have to cower back and turtle up within of their own base.
I'm sure. Look at the score line. Look at the economy difference between both teams. It's not much, but Flash looks like they have full control of that map just because Hades is controlling that side wave pressure. He's boxing that wave and forcing the wave in. So RSG, the only thing that they can do is play together as 5 because they only know that they can win as 5 members.
That is pretty annoying, isn't it?
Very annoying.
Constantly having to think about a link at the back of your head, and let's face this, Hades have got one heck of a, well, career when it comes down to ending games by himself. Probably the highest ranked in Singapore if we have any form of that kind of statistic. Number of backdoor wins.
I think we might be able to see one now if RSG steps a little bit too far away from the sun.
Which they might.
Which they might.
They're not
Looks
exactly
like
a team that is touted for their mobility.
Or macro control.
Yes.
For Flash SG, you have a lot of international experience, especially with the 2 new Filipino imports that have been there for multiple seasons as well. Not only that, they have to deal with Lord Vanix, and the damage is starting to hurt.
Although, I'd like to give Bray the benefit of doubt. I think he went through enough trauma to know that this Hades is someone that he have to look out for. He's the one that can respond to such split pushes. It's all up to Bray. With the Lord that is available now, they're also looking for that kind of opportunity. They have the priority at this point in time, but they have yet to really open up all of these brushes. One by one is how they're gonna do this. They spotted out Vanix, they spotted out Kha'Zix, now they spotted out Ken.
Trying to blitz this though. Tsunami Slam underneath the Lord. Get a fair airstrike to kick things up to zone everyone out of the way. But here comes Hades, but Bray steals it from underneath Hades' nose. But down goes Bray. The Same Force gets popped up. Closer, trying to soak up as much damage as possible. Flash SG is also low, but they're fighting like they're in full health. Hades falls in the end. The CS tries to take it for himself. Hello? Goes 2, maybe make it 3. It's Vanix against CS. One more hit. CS might be able to fall. The fair airstrike comes in clutch. Closer falls as well. Make it 4. 4 members of RSG just losing their lives. They got that Lord to buy themselves some time, but look at the bottom side. The minions are actually pushing in. They have to deal with CS though. It might not be enough.
What a comeback from the side of Team Flash. Originally, you were clearly seeing that RSG is the one that had the advantage with 3v3, but Flash is the one that have lost the most amount of HP. It's very fortunate that CS is actually even still alive throughout all of the ordeal, because CS literally flickered right in the face of the opponents just so that he can close up the gap and have more allowance on rush shots onto any fleeing enemies. But in this case, none of them decided to flee. They decided to fight back and even had the opportunity for Kha'Zix to pop off with the Crescent airstrike.
Now, Battlefield is getting a little bit silent. Kind of feels like a library. No one wants to make any move whatsoever. Flash wants Hades to do his thing. RSG barely hanging on strong. Just one turret left on that T1. They're going to take down that Lord earlier. But the economy has been equalized once again after. Seal play. Want to make a move onto Roy. Know they can chase him down. Getting stunned up. Knocked back. But Ken takes a full hit of the Shadow Kill. Able to get taken down by Bray. But look at the backside though, Tempest of Blades onto Bray himself. He does have the immortality getting popped up, but Hades taking a lot of damage from CS. Jay will seal that deal. 2 for 2. It's hit for tat once again.
We've got Closer that ate up the entire duration of that Zaman force. And it is definitely unfortunate that it takes so long for Vanix to be able to do, or rather to be able to kill Closer. But hey, front to back, that's what you want to do. You want to eventually bring down and whittle down the front lines and then eventually all the way to the back. So regardless, this 20 minutes game is not going to go down to the end just yet. With Bray and CS available, they can still clear out these waves very effectively. Now the question begs, what exactly is the end condition? What does RSG have got to do? They have Jay that can play a very mean Kalia with those pick-off potential. And Roy's ultimate is essentially a gamble. They can do this over and over and over again until Roy's ultimate eventually lands on the target that they want and give them a favorable matchup, favorable fight. While Team Flash, honestly, I think that they're just gonna macro this up. They have a lot of opportunities for split pushes.
Honestly, it's a battle of intelligence. You have Dr. J against Grandmaster Uguay in the form of JPL. And both of these two roams are just so deep in the game with years of experience knowing how to play this. Down low, Hades picks it up with the Retribution. Kurt TZ pops in a Feather Airstrike. I don't think they want to fight on this one. Flash, they ditch the Lord marching on the top side. RSG back on the defense. This might be it for RSG because Flash does have all the resources. Jay is down. A very high committal hero in that Kalea.
I didn't think that the Team Flash would kind of put the brakes on that fight, because I thought that they would have wanted the bottom lane to push out all the way through and they extended their own fight. But perhaps their idea is that it's much safer for them to retreat because they already have the advantage coming in over to the base rush, because Jay has 20 seconds left at this point as we speak. So this is probably the safest way to end.
Forest Pathway slow things down, but on backside, Hades able to take down one. Tempest of Blades deep into the base, but the throne is what they're looking for. Flash secures game number 1.
Safe indeed. This is the way that they wanted to end. They know that they have the numbers advantage, and they have a lot of damage as well. So
yeah.
Woohoo!
I think that was a good call by RSG to pick up the Veil. Because within team fights, and we talked about this during the draft, once you lay out Zabin Force, the Gara could just throw in a sand tomb, basically everyone entrapped in that particular area, which is just takes a lot of damage, and that's basically just spells their doom. The only issue is they don't have the ability to outrange the Pharsa, don't have anyone to try to take that Pharsa down before things really go south. The only thing is for Bray in the late game, you have that one-shot potential, but everyone's all clumped up together. If you use that Shadow Kill, you can't single out a specific enemy, so it really takes a whole village to try to pull Flash SG away from Kurt TZ and try to just zone him out.
Right. I think that one of the main thing is that they don't have that burst potential. The only burst potential comes in from Roy, and once again, I mentioned that is a lot of gamble in that. If you land a Sand Barrier, I can't remember if that's actually the name.
I changed it for the skins.
For the skin, yeah.
For the skins also, yeah.
Yeah. So if you actually land the Sand Barrier, then at least everyone is going to be whittled down. They have been completely, I guess, bruised in this case.
Yeah.
So this will allow Hayabusa to go in with a couple of those shurikens, and I think that it should be more than enough to convert into the Ogi Shadow Kill and kill everyone else, right? This is the caveat of winning a team fight is Roy landing all those shots. Because if you look at it, Hylos, no damage.
Yep.
Absolutely zero.
Just
Nada.
tank everything,
Tank
soak
everything.
up all the ultimates that you can, and then get out of the way.
Kalia is a very slow, painful death.
Yep.
Whereby it's really just about punching. The longer it stays, the more she heals. The longer it stays, you go down by a bit, by a bit, by a bit, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't expect too much damage coming from a Kalia in the later stages of the game, right? And finally, when it comes down to okay, so we have got the Granger, we got the Veil, and followed by who else?
You've also got the
Hayabusa.
Kalea, Hayabusa.
Yep.
Hayabusa is honestly, I mean, Bray really carried this game on his shoulders, always finding the right kills from that back. I think one of the only few turnarounds that RSG had was because of Bray. Found the right target onto Cortese, and the rest, as they say, is history. Because without the fair airstrike, it's all, downhill for
Yeah.
Flash SG. That zone potential is what they need. I think also one of the things that they have to adapt is Flash SG is a very macro-oriented team,
Mm.
and as such, RSG was unable to match that pace that Hades is able to bring to the table, especially from that side lane split push.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, they're playing as 5 members and taking down 3 members at a time, 2 members at a time. It's always trades for trades, but you leave Hades alone. He doesn't really have to come in to take anyone out. He just has to make sure that he takes down these turrets.
I would say that Flash is a very self-sufficient team.
Yes.
They don't need Hades for everything.
Yep.
As such, just leave Hades to his own device. If he's able to apply more pressure on the opposite side of the map, let him be.
Let him be.
And then they will be able to, slowly clump and push RSG closer and closer and closer over to their base, because top lane is pushing in. We're
Yep.
gonna have to fall back to kind of deal with that. Well, in the meantime, we've got one entire compound coming at you. It's
True.
scary.
It is very.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very scary.
In this case, though, I feel like Bray played well, but wasn't able to adjust to the tempo that Hades was able to bring. But in game number 2, though, that might be a different story as Bray learns to adapt. Remember, we called him a child prodigy
Yep.
way back when, and his understanding of the game and how he adapts to the situation that the game needs and needs you to bring into the series. I think Bray really has a shot, and not to mention the two roamers is a battle of wits and battle of intelligence. How you want to play the map, how do you want to play the rotations? And we always see like JPL understanding that he needs to be able to protect Hades from harm's way. If he shows himself the map, maybe someone's going to be popping up from that brush on the side corner of the map as well. And so, yeah, but this is just like just reading each other out, and I think at the end of the day, both of these juggernaut teams played a heck of a game. Very, very close. It wasn't one team that was more dominant over the other. It was more of a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill, and a whole lot of concentrated power of will.
Now, as we talk about the Hayabusa plus the Ling as well, in
Yeah.
the most ideal scenario for both of these junglers, none of them would die in the 1v1.
Yeah, I think the only time that that 1v1 anime crossfight on that top side was because Roy came into the picture.
Yes.
And so if you want to blame anyone, just blame Roy.
Just blame Roy.
It's like, well, I want a 1v1,
1v1.
1v1, you all chat 1v1.
No honor.
No.
Redo. Redo the fight. Go back to the top lane.
Go back to the top lane. Come again.
But
Yeah.
honestly, yeah, if the Hayabusa were to go for Ogi Shadow kill first, then you can always Tempest of Blades,
Tempest of
and
Blades.
that's the end.
If you Tempest of Blades first,
Then
then
you
we
can,
Shadow Kill after.
Yeah.
And then
so
I-
I mean, most of the time, you as a Ling, you don't want to use a Tempest of Blades
yeah,
unless you see the Ogi Shadow kill. Then only then that's the perfect
yeah,
time.
yeah. Then
So
you
the
tap
only
trigger.
the only mistake in that fight can be done by Ling. The
Mm,
moment so your entire matchup, it all depends on the Ling. If the
fair.
Ling uses or not that uses the Tempest of Blades, then that's your key to victory.
I think the shadow from Hayabusa also plays a huge factor. There's
Mhm.
like 16 minutes second cooldown, especially in the early to mid stage of the game. So if you dash one time, you have a lot of long cooldown for you to wait and get that reset down before you make any very big outplays. But at the end of the day, I feel like Hades made some mistakes, especially in early game. He was a little bit too gung ho, but as he should, he's a Ling anyways. He should be able to take down the back line in the form of like the Veil or the Granger. And I think for a couple of times he really did and allowed his team to snowball through. So for Flash, well, congratulations. That's just one game off, but there's two more
One.
games to go.
There's still 2 more games to win. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a best of best of 5. Remember,
Best of 5.
best of 5. This is the upper bracket finals, and only after this, whichever team that wins, they move on to the grand finals, where they will be awaiting for their opponents tomorrow for the final series, and that will be the best of 7. Whichever team that wins in the grand finals of MPL Singapore Season 9 will move on over to have the opportunity to play in the MLBB Mid-Season Cup 2025, which will be happening in the Esports World Cup at Saudi Arabia, Riyadh.
Man, for Flash SG and RSGSG, both these two teams really showed a lot of dominance, especially over the years. This really feels like like a deja vu back to season 6, where it was very close. Hades kind of likes to play this backdoor play, especially around RSG, specifically around RSG. Remember back in the days, I know we're not supposed to talk about season 6 and what really transpired down there. If you know, you know. But Hades used the Hellcurt to get a backdoor kind of situation down, and it was one of his more pocket picks at that
So
meta.
disgusting. In
Very
fact,
disgusting.
actually, I kind of miss the Hellcat.
Yeah.
I kind of miss the Hellcat. Like
I
even
remember I was
Beloyski
spamming
Hellcat.
it. I was spamming it at one point. Back in that meta, I was just constantly picking the Hellcurt because
Can we
no
see
one
a
can really
Hellcat in
deal with the
Rome?
Hellcurt. Hellcurt Roam.
Can we see a Hellcat in Rome?
I think if it was down to J, maybe, but they
Mm,
might not want to risk it because you're very high committal. If you don't get the kill,
right,
people know how to deal with you,
right.
and you're immediately just shut down.
It would have been fun, but maybe not this meta. As now, we're going to be looking at the post-game statistics as well as the itemizations. What can we learn about this? With our...
What's wrong?
Flash 1, right?
Flash 1.
Okay, thank God. Sorry, I had a little bit of
A brain fart.
brain fart. Yeah. So with Flash winning that game, we've got Vanix full item slotted, Curteasy as well as Hades. Understandably, they are all full item slotted. RSG, is there any difference in that? CS full item slotted. Roy? No, not yet. Bray is. So there is a small little discrepancies when it comes down to the amount of gold that we have between the two mid laners, and they are the main damage dealers. And remember, Roy's ultimate is one of the most valuable and most important ultimate of RSG in order for Bray to be able and remotely possible to kill people. Otherwise, your Ogi Shadow Kill really just do absolute nothing. If you want to use your Ogi Shadow Kill to bring people from 100% to 50%, honestly, don't. I don't see the reason for doing that. If everyone starts off at 50% HP, I think that is a great way to start.
Yeah. Matter of fact is, I think for the Veil in the late game, if he racks up a lot of assists, at least he can pop his passive and able to rotate around that map. But RSG was always playing very passively throughout this game. So this itemizations, to be honest, it doesn't really matter at that point. It was just, why can't RSG actually go into the jungles of Flash SG? They had sort of like cleared up that bottom side T1, top side T1, and it opened up pathing to that jungle. But I'm not sure why they played the as passive as they did in this game.
So with that Terizla pick coming in from Team Flash, that earned them the victory. And in fact, I think that we did manage to see a couple of times that Flicker plus penalty zone that lands right on top of CS. And CS actually don't really have an answer to that, right?
Yeah.
You normally uses your dash to reposition because you want a more superior position just so that all of your bullets fly in the direction that you want it to. The moment you kind of forget about the fact that, oh crap, that is Terizla on my end, I can't use these dashes anymore. It may definitely put down the amount of potential damage dealt from a Granger just because of the threat of having a penalty zone ever coming to your face, or perhaps even when it comes down to the freeze break, freeze crack kind of thing could also happen.
Yeah. To be honest though, man, who do you think the MVP is?
Hades?
Think Hades?
Damn.
Man, Vanix once again. Lord Vanix secures the MVP of the game as the Harith 8, 2, and 5 for his KDA. 57% kill participation, but man, was he deadly once he throws down his Zayman Force. I think there wasn't a time where I saw him actually get intentionally caught out by the Veil, which was one of the only ones that could potentially kill him in a big team fight, and he wasn't singled out by Bray as the Hayabusa. So very well played, just funneling himself, getting those core power spikes, and just clearing that
Positioning and
waves
all.
and that positioning down into team fights.
So honestly, MVP, Vanix 8:2:5. I think that is well deserved. He knows his Harif inside and out. Let's be honest here. So giving the Harif over to Team Flash, I think they don't really have a choice per se,
Yeah.
because there's so many things that you gotta have to look out for, right? The 1-1, the Granger, now the Harif. They gotta think about it as well. Are they really gonna use all three bans just to make sure that Vanix is not gonna have a good game?